Hi, welcome to another video by Get It Done Home Repairs. Today we're going to be installing a new set of bypass sliding doors. As you can see, we did take the older doors down. I won't tell you how to do that. I guess you could figure that out. It's just a matter of removing a couple of screws and pulling them out and getting rid of it. Let me show you what kind of tools you're going to need, and then we're going to talk about how we're going to go about putting the channel up, and then also how we're going to do the door itself. So you really don't need a lot of tools to do this job. Whenever you buy the channel, usually it comes with the hardware itself already, which it does come with. It comes with it comes with everything needed to install the doors. These are the hinges or the sliders that go on top of the door itself. These here. These are this is the piece that goes on the bottom to hold the door in its correct location. These we're not going to use because we're not putting the silver on. We're not putting the gold on. We're putting the silver on. So we're not going to use these. These are the screws that you're going to need to put the channel up, and these two shorter screws are the ones to secure this down to the floor. Now all you're going to need is you're going to need a drill with a 3/16 drill bit. You're going to need a 3/4 inch drill to install these in the door. You're going to need probably just a Phillips head screwdriver, but you may need a flathead screwdriver. And of course you're going to need to make your measurements so you know where everything is going to be situated. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our oh, by the way, I might add, this channel here is actually the exact size that I need for this opening here. If this channel was too long, you could actually cut this with the hacksaw, and then of course then you just measure the size of your opening and you make this channel the size of the opening. So you would just cut it with a hacksaw. That's fairly simple. Now this channel here, the way you're going to put it in is this goes in the back like this. It goes up here like this, and what you're going to do is you're going to put it in the doorway here, and you're going to center it inside the door jamb itself. In between here, you're going to center it. This is actually 4.5 inches, so it's 4.5 inches, so we are going to make it 2 1/4 inches to the center of the channel itself. We're going to take our channel, and we're going to put it up here. Now I did put marks up here already. I'll bring you in and I'll show you what I did do. And you can see I put a tiny little mark right up here, and that's the center of the channel itself. So that's where we're going to put the channel, and then we're going to come in here. We're going to put little marks in each one of these holes here. Each one of the holes we have marked, and then we're going to take this channel back down. And then we're going to grab our drill with that the drill bit. Okay, then we're going to take our drill bit, the 7/64 drill bit, and we're just going to drill these holes out a little bit to accommodate the new screw. Okay, now you may be tempted to leave out some of these screws up here, but don't do it. Make sure you put all the screws in that came with it, because there is going to be a significant amount of weight hanging on there. So let me grab the screws and we'll put that channel up. And then once you have everything up there, we didn't tighten it up. It's still loose in case we have to slide it around to get the holes to line up. And now we'll catch each one of them. And now, after we have this channel put up on here, now we're going to go ahead and tighten up all the screws. Again, if you don't have this drill, you can use a regular screwdriver. Okay, so now our channel is actually secured up to the frame itself. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually take the door and we're going to install the sliders on the door itself. But before we do this, I want to talk about something else. This opening, I'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. These go in the channel like that and like that. So that's where they hang. Up on the top right here, see that little lip right there? That little lip is what fits up on top of the door like that. So it fits on the door, touching right up against the top of the door. So what's going to happen, the door itself is actually going to be lower than the opening itself. The opening, I believe, is 80 inches. So we do have to cut the door down to accommodate the opening, because these sliders here bring the door down about an inch, maybe an inch and a half. So we do need to cut the door. So what we're going to do, okay, so we need to figure out now the size or how much we have to take off the door itself so we don't cut it too short. If you're not sure, remember, it's easier to cut it twice than to cut it too short, and then you'll have a door that's useless. So this is how I always check it, to be able to see how long the door has to be. All right, what you do is you take your tape measure, you put it down on the floor where you're underneath the door itself. You bring up your tape measure and you measure right to the bottom of that little piece right there. That's going to be the top of the door. And as you can see, it's 79 inches. And we want the door to have about a ½ inch clearance underneath the rug, so we don't have it touching up against the rug itself. So we're going to cut the door at 78 1/2 inches. All right, so what we're going to do is we're not going to take it off the top of the door. We're going to take it off the bottom of the door. So let's take the door into the garage, and we're going to cut that bottom off, and I'll explain to you how you put it back together. Remember, the door, even though it's a heavy door, it is a hollow door. There's nothing inside the door. The ends of it, for probably about maybe an inch, is wood here and across the bottom, but there's nothing underneath here. It's hollow. So we are going to have to cut a piece of wood, which I'll show you how to do that too. And we need to put it back in the bottom and then glue it in place, clamp it, and once it dries, we come back in and hang it up. So, all right, let's get out to the garage and we'll continue out there. Okay, so now that we're ready to cut the door, cut the door down to size, because as you know, it's too big for the opening. We know that the door is a hollow door. Now, this is from a previous door that I did, but you can see that the door is actually hollow on the inside. You have this thin strip of wood on the end right here, but it's basically hollow the rest of the door itself. So this is the bottom of another door, but as you can see when you cut it, there's nothing inside there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of tape now. We're going to put a piece of tape around the area where we're going to cut. And the reason we put the tape on there is because when you have the tape on it, it'll keep the wood from splintering and it'll minimize the amount of chipping that takes place on the door. Because you don't want it having chips in it, because it'll look horrible. All right, so we're going to put the tape around the bottom of the door, and then we're going to measure our measurement from the top of the door to the bottom of the door, come with a straight line across there, and then we're going to set it up and we're going to make that cut. You can use, I personally use a jigsaw to do it. You can use a circular saw. Not that I would recommend doing that unless you have an extremely fine blade, because that just chews the door up. With a jigsaw, it actually minimizes the amount of chipping, and you don't really see much damage to the wood itself. Let me just give you an idea. See, this is the cut that I did. So as you can see, there's no chipping that takes place on here at all. So put that tape on there. It'll minimize all the damage to the wood itself. So all right, let's get in there. Let's put the tape on there, make our measurement, and then we're going to cut it with the jigsaw. So let's get started. Okay, so now we have our line marked on here. You have two choices. You can cut it with a jigsaw freehand, just like this, and cut it through there, which is fine. Or you could take a piece of wood, such as this, put it on here, like that. If that doesn't work, you could take any wood that you have for a straight line. Obviously, if you don't have that, you can do it like this. We're going to put this on here like this. We're going to take our 2 clamps. Now you saw on the back over here, I put a piece of wood in the back here, so that's to keep from damaging the back part of the door itself. Okay, now the reason I put this board on here is because we're going to take the jigsaw, and the jigsaw is actually going to run, it's going to lean right up against this board right here, so we have a nice straight edge when we cut it down over here. So, all right, let's get started. Take this off. See, nice clean cut. You don't have any kind of chipping at all on the edges. All right, so next thing we're going to do now is we're going to take these pieces here, which we had to cut down. I will show you how to do that, how to cut them down. I did that previously. We're going to take these and we're going to put them in here like this, and then we're going to glue it in place. So let me grab the glue. We're going to glue this in place, and we'll come back in just a minute. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how you can actually make this piece of wood that's inside the door, because you cannot leave that door hanging with the hollow piece on the bottom. We need to put this piece of wood back up inside there. As you know, this is virtually impossible to get this out without destroying it, so we're not even going to attempt to do that. We're going to actually take a piece of pine and we're going to cut it down so we can make it the exact same size. In this particular case, you can see this little lip, or maybe you can't see. You see that little lip right there? We're going to cut down the wood so that we can actually slide it right inside of here, because then we know it's going to fit properly inside the door. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure the inside here, and we're going to see how long of a piece of wood we need. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to measure how thick this piece of wood is that's in there, and we're going to set the saw up, so we're going to cut the length and we're going to cut the width the way we want to. All right, so let's go over to the saw. Like I said, the saw, I do have it here, but if you don't have it, I believe some of the big box stores will cut this wood down to the size that you need it. So if you do need the wood to be cut down by a big box store, just measure exactly how long it is and exactly how wide it is. If you cut it too small, it's not going to work, because when you glue this back into the door, it's going to be too much space inside there. So make sure you get your measurements exactly what you need. All right, so let's set the table saw up, and let's continue on the saw. Okay, so I hope you can see what I'm going to do here. All right, so what we're going to do now is, like I said, now I just want to point this out. Whenever you're working with a table saw, be extremely careful. You never want to make an error and actually hurt yourself. So you know, use the appropriate safety when you use this type of a saw. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to measure how long this piece is right here. And we have 34 and 1/8. So that's what we need, 34 and 1/8. So we're going to mark 34 and 1/8 on the piece of wood that we're actually going to cut. 34 and 1/8. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to measure how thick this gap is in between the door itself. And here I have it 1 3/16. Now I did take the liberty of setting the saw up already to 1 3/16, and the way that we did that is we actually went to the blade itself, which is here, and we measured to the stop on this side here, and we set it for 1 3/16. So that's where we have it set at. So now let's cut the wood down, and we'll continue. Okay, so now we know we have our wood cut down so that it fits in here properly. As you can see now, it fits right inside here. We are going to glue this into the door once we get back to the door itself, but now we have the width cut properly. Next thing we're going to do now is we're going to cut it here to the length. Okay, so now we're going to take the other piece off here. That was our guide. We're going to take that off. We'll put this down over here for a minute. And now we're going to cut the other piece down where it's supposed to be. Just set it up like this. We're going to turn it on now. We're going to cut it. As you can see now, this fits in there perfectly on the bottom here like this. All right, so now we're going to cut down. We have to cut down 3 more of them, so we're going to actually cut those down. And once we cut the other 3 down, we'll get back and we'll glue these into the door itself. All right? Okay, we're just going to take this and put it in the door, like that. We're going to push it in until it's flush on the corners, just like that. And now we're going to clamp it with the clamp, so that way it actually Okay, and the reason that we're going to clamp it like that is because we want the wood to actually stick to the piece of flat stock that we put into the bottom right here. So we're just going to clamp it right there. Let's just clamp it here as well. Okay, we're going to wipe off the excess glue. Okay, we're going to let that dry a little bit, and once we finish this one, then we're going to cut the second door, and then we'll continue. Okay, so now we have our door that we actually cut the bottom. This door here still needs to be cut, so we're not going to do anything with this door as of right now. This door is ready to be hung, so I'm going to show you how to attach the sliders on top of it here. Now what I normally do here is I'll take the slider, and you'll put that little piece right there up on the top of the door itself, so it actually sits right on the door. I try to keep the roller in the center of the door right here. That's the way I do it, and I'm going to mark right here now. Same thing on this one over here. Okay. And then we're going to pre-drill the holes in the door itself. You do not drill all the way through, you drill through just a little bit. You drill about half the thickness of the door so that you can actually accommodate these screws. Now, like I said, you can use the electric screwdriver if you have it, or you can just screw it in with a regular screwdriver. I will tell you this, if you are using the electric screwdriver, make sure you don't over tighten it and strip out the door itself, because otherwise you're going to have to drill a set of holes somewhere else in it to hold the rollers on. Okay, so now our rollers are on the door itself. These are adjustable right here, so you can adjust the height of the door up and down as needed, but we'll see how it goes when we actually hang it up there. Alright, so let's put the door up on the channel, and we're going to continue. Okay, so now once we have the door on here, these gears or rollers up top here, you need to hold the door at least a 15 to a 20 degree angle to put the rollers into the channel. So you're going to need to take the door, put it inside like this, tilt it, and then you put it up on top. And now these doors, let me just point this out to you real quick here. We'll talk about this a little later on. You see this door over here? You see how it's crooked on the frame itself? The rollers that we have on there, they're adjustable, and you can adjust as needed to compensate for any kind of irregularity or any kind of out of square or by just adjusting these. You lift up on the door and then you rotate these either left or right to make sure the door lines up properly. So we're going to actually we're going to go into the garage now and we're going to cut this other door down. We have to cut this door down and we have to clamp it. So I'm going to bring this in, I'm going to cut it. Once it's cut, then we'll come back and we'll hang this door up and we'll get this job all done. Okay, and then to adjust the door so that it's nice and straight on the one side, you basically just come in the back over here and you take the door with your one hand, lift it up, and then you rotate this plastic gear until it actually lines up or until it's straight. So let me do that and we'll continue with that. Okay. Okay. And that's how you adjust the door so that it actually it's nice and straight against the frame right over here. All right, let's get to the garage and let's cut this other door down and we'll continue. Okay, now that we have the door is all glued, the bottom is finished, we're going to attach the roller to the top up here. And we're going to do it the exact same way we did the other one. We're going to center it inside the door right here. Okay, so now that we have the rollers attached, we're going to put the door back into the opening and we're going to wrap this job. Now when we put the door in, remember you can't just put the door in, you need to go at least a 15 to 20 degree angle to hook these gears or the rollers onto the channel itself. So we're going to tilt it. Alright, so now both of our doors are hung. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our track that's going to go on the bottom to hold the doors in place, and we're going to screw that in. So let's continue with that. Now when you look on this here, there is an arrow pointing to the front. I don't know why, but it actually says front here, so that's the way we're going to do it. Okay, all right, so now that we have both of the screws in the front and the back in place, okay. Next thing we're going to do now is we're going to make our measurements where we're going to put our finger grips into. We're going to measure in 36, in this particular case, it's going to be 36 inches up, and it's going to be 1 inch and 1.25 inches in from the outside. So let me put our 3/4 inch drill bit into the drill, and then we'll continue with that. Okay, now that we measured up from the ground 36 inches and in from the end 1 3/16, which is where we chose to put it. You could actually put it anywhere you wanted to, but that's where we're actually putting it. All right, then you're going to need a drill. It's going to be a 3/4 inch drill. But what we're going to do, we're going to put a small pilot hole in here first. And the pilot hole is because when you try to put a large drill bit like this up against there, sometimes it has a tendency to move up and down or walk one way or the other. So that's why I drill a small pilot hole in there, so we don't have that trouble. Now keep in mind when you're drilling, you only have to drill in that far. You don't really have to go in too far. So we're going to hold the door, and we're going to start to drill very slowly. Now these are actually fairly tight going in, so you have to play around with it sometimes to get it to pop in. But once you get it to push it in, you want to push it in straight and even. Okay, so that's in there. We're going to do the same thing on this one. But before I put that in, I'm not going to show you that because it's actually just a duplicate of what I'm doing right here. We're going to talk about lining the closet doors up. Now this closet door here, you can see that it's off just a little bit. It's nice and tight up on the top, but there's a little bit of a space down on the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to go inside and adjust that hinge like I showed you the other day. We're going to adjust it just a little bit more. And as you can see now it looks fairly even all the way from the top and the bottom. We are going to do the exact same thing on this door over here to adjust that, but that's it, you're all done. We're going to put that finger grip inside here, and then this job is done. Alright, as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.